Alright, so welcome back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video, and I'm pretty excited about this one. This is another complete breakdown, but featuring set 13, Android 17, and 18. I didn't mean that to rhyme, but I'm excited because, well, it's in my name, and I love Android 18, 17, I love the original leader, and this one kind of has a little bit of a different twist that, of course, we're going to get into for the leader and all of the remaining cards or the cards that go with it. Of course, this also features a bit of a breakdown for, again, the archetype, a deck list, mulligan and turns, and of course the next video after this is the gameplay. So if you haven't seen the previous videos for the complete breakdowns, I did King Vegeta, Bardock, and Kai of Time, so definitely check those out. They're all in a playlist on the channel as well. If you ever want to see gameplay, I did do gameplay on my Twitch. Again, it's in the description below. Subscribe if you are new, and let me know, since I'm going to be running out of leaders pretty soon, what else do you want me to talk about? What else do you want me to make videos about? And of course, join the Discord below for any of the discussion, and as well as use the TCG player link in the below if you haven't ordered singles or product or whatever it may be. All right, let's go straight into it. So again, this is going to be Android 17 and 18. The first thing to know is, of course, the leader and as well as the leader effect. So the backside, or the front side actually has an attack. Look at the top 5 and get a mono yellow android from them, and then shuffle your deck. So not exactly a draw because you can whiff on it, but it is nice to fill up your deck for mono yellow androids, which there are a good amount now. It doesn't get any of the green yellow ones, so kind of a limited as far as future design space for this leader. But as we do have more mono yellow androids in the future, hopefully we'll get good support. Right now, I think it's okay. I think too long didn't watch as far as the version for this deck and as well as this leader. I think it can compete on a mono yellow level and as well as the archetype itself, but it does have quite a bit of faults. It does lose to red, and as well as board wiping. Any kind of form of board wiping is really detrimental for this, because a lot of the stuff that's in this deck and as well as mono yellow androids don't have barriers, so they can easily get it removed. Secret Identity, am I saying the red Goku 3-drop that is like $1,000 for some reason at this point? TN is just such a annoying matchup for this deck. It just, you know, those type of things really hurt this deck. And it also depends on how you build it. But I think because you are limited to the mono yellow android stuff, you can only build it a certain way, and as well as include certain cards to actually make it consistent and make it a good deck. Anyway, the auto is really good because it is an additional awakening, just like how Kai has it, just how King Vegeta has it. This is the trend for set 13 and is really great. When one of your mono yellow androids, or yellow android battle cards, actually doesn't have to be mono yellow, is switched to rest mode by a skill, you flip this card over. If you do, draw one and then choose up to one of your cards or your energies to active mode, and then you add cards in your life up until 4. So you can awaken at 8, draw 4 cards from your life if they don't attack, which I've had it happen, and untap 1, draw 1 from your deck. So overall, really strong awakening. I think I mean, it's been a few weeks since I've been playing this deck, and honestly, I think the awakening is kind of a hit or miss. It really depends on the matchup if you want to keep swinging and look at the top 5 and just sort of wait. Because as soon as you're at that 4 life, they can start swinging with 15Ks. They have to basically waste more cards to combo out into a 15K, that sort of thing. But if not, you can always use the 4 or less and then untap 2 instead, which is nice. I haven't really used that effect. I've almost always had the other auto to take life up until 4 instead of untapping 2, but it is what it is. And then the other side is that the permanent is mono yellow androids, has 5k during your opponent's turn, which is really good. The 5k blocker now becomes, well, 4k blocker now becomes a 9k blocker, and then the 15k 1 drop, which after you switch it to 15k, you have a or switch to rest mode, it becomes a 15k. Now is a 20k in their turn, and a number of other things like your 30ks are now 35k. So it's really useful as far as protecting those cards, even if it doesn't have barrier. And then when it attacks, you can draw a card. If you don't, you can play a yellow android card with energy cost of 1, doesn't have to be mono yellow, in rest mode. This is really cool because it interacts with a couple of other cards, because the on play auto effects go off, and as well as other things like activate main cards, which we'll talk about. Now, the activate main says choose one of your yellow battle cards and switch it to rest mode, and then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and negate the skills for the duration of the turn that isn't also in rest mode. There's also once per turn, but again, this interacts with some of the cards that want to be switched to rest mode, and also blanks out a number of things that don't have barrier, which I mean, things that want to sit there usually have barrier, but on the bright side, this also interacts with the unison that we'll talk about in a second. All right, taking a look at the unison and the first parts of the engine, there's a couple cards missing within the engine part, but we'll go through those in a little bit on the list. But there's an Android 13 robotic unity with a 2 cost specified. So basically pay 2, and then you have a +1 right after that. The rejuvenate is that you remove 4 markers from the card and you gain 1 life, of course. The way that you do get a card is the activate main. Underneath the card, that is activate main. Choose one of your yellow battle cards, switch to rest mode. Choose one of your opponent's skillless battle cards in rest mode and play underneath the card. So basically, there's things like the Android 16 to our right wants to be switched to rest mode and it becomes a blocker, and then you can use the leader effect to get whatever you just had skillless on their field and put it underneath the card. It basically is free removal from both the leader and as well as the unison, as long as you have the cards on the field. The second activate main for +1 is that choose up to one of your mono yellow Android cards energy cost of 3 or less and switch it to active mode until the next at the start of the next turn. Reduce all combo costs from mono yellow Android cards. Energy costs or original combo costs of 1 by 1. Basically, all the 1 cost cards in the mono yellow androids are free. So there's 2 things with this, is that one, with the pretty much every android card that you play on the field that isn't maybe the 5-drop or maybe something else, I would say pretty much every android card that you play can be reset to active mode. There's a couple of interactions where, for instance, you only have the Android 16 here, which basically the Android 16, you look at the top 5, you get a 3 or less or the unison. And then when it gets switched to rest mode, it gets switched back to active mode and gains blocker for the turn, or for their turn. Basically, it's a 9k blocker. But anyway, so the interesting thing about this is that again, for the leader effect, you tap it down to become a blocker. You tap it down for Android 13's effect, and you get something from their field and put it underneath the card. You get the removal from there, and you +1, you restand the blocker, and now all the cards that we're going to take a look at in a second are now free for the combo cost. So there's a number of things that you have to kind of think about when it comes to sequencing and the combination of cards for that type of thing. And then Assault of Androids on the right is basically a yellow bean, kind of, if I'm reading it correctly, right? I'm okay with being wrong. I don't really play this card too often. I do play as a 2 of, 1 of usually in the list. But pretty cool in general. So another kind of removal thing where you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards at 5 or less in rest mode and then KO it. And then you get a following effect where your leader card gains 5k for the duration of the turn. Of course, it doesn't say your turn or their turn, so you can just use it on both sides. And then choose one of your yellow battle cards, and it's a 15k power for the battle. So 1 cost 15k, swinging at them. So even this 16 that's a 4k can now be a 19k for whatever reason. And now your vanillas can now be a 45k. With the Champa, that's 55k. It's a lot of good stuff for cheap energy, which is basically the game now. Now we're gonna look at the 1 cost cards in your hand, basically. So I have a love-hate relationship with these cards. I adore these cards. You know, I love these cards. I love the fact, I love everything that they do, right? Do I like them all the time? Not really. So the Android 18 and the 17 on the left side here, basically with the unison effect, they become a 0 cost 5k combos. And outside of that is a 1 cost 5k combo, which, you know, if you don't have the unison out, which is why it's so detrimental in this deck, if you do play these cards, then they're kind of dead in the hand. Like they are really not that good. But they get played in rest mode and then in the battle, so you can do it on your turn or you can do it on their turn, which is important because on your turn you can restand it with the unison effect, or on their turn you can just go ahead and use it defensively. I usually use it defensively. I like playing stuff on my opponent's turn, and if you want to be a little more aggressive offensively, it's not that bad. Activate main Yellow, you pay 1. You choose, if your looted cards are yellow Android 17, which of course is only 1, choose one of your yellow Android battle cards other than this card and switch to rest mode. And then you choose one Android 18 card when it costs a 3 in your hand and play it. And you can't do it for this turn. So basically, just like the card that we're going to take a look at in a second, you pay 1 and you get to play a Android 18 or 17, basically, for these cards. And this has Android 17 or 18. Hey, go figure. And it's a 3 cost. Hey, go figure. And it becomes a deflect or dual attack, which is interesting because I like having to bait these activate mains. If you're playing against blue, for some instance, for instance, you can use the 3 cost Android 17 or 18 vanillas, the 30Ks, which if you reveal that, they will respond with Trunks, and then you can play this and it doesn't work. And as I understand, if they respond with it on the counter window 1, then they have to use it and drop into the drop area. But this these guys have deflect, has dual attack at 19k. At the end of the battle, when you use this as a combo, which this is the 2 cost. If I am reading this correctly, energy cost of 1 is the only one that gets reduced. So you have to pay the 2 to get the 10k there, which is not great. Honestly, the best way to play these guys is going to be these 2. But when it's removed from the battle area by opponent's skill, which sometimes it does happen, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. So you can switch their leader to rest, you can switch their energy to rest, you can switch your battle card to rest. All very, very cool. Even with their unison card. So with Zamasu, with Bergamo, this is really good as far as that goes, as long as you have it on the field. Choose one of your yellow battle cards for the auto, switch it to rest mode. Your opponent card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and negate the skills for the duration of your turn. So I think it's really cool because now you can keep this guy in play and not use the auto effect. But I think, you know what? Now that I think about it, that's actually pretty interesting because now if you have this guy on the field and use the effect to gain it blocker, since it's once per turn, you can probably pass it on over to them. When they swing with any of their cards, you can just tap it down and just restance right after that. So pretty cool as far as that goes. Only now realizing this because I really rarely ever play the dynamic duo, but it is pretty nice when they are out. But this is cool because now if they don't have barrier, you can just negate critical, you can negate effects as far as on swing, you can negate double strike. All those things are really, really cool. And now the 5-drop has deflect, 25k. It becomes a 4 cost if you have a skillless battle card in play, and then it also has triple strike. So this is the finisher of the deck. I don't really like it very much, but the autos and activate mains are pretty lit. When this card is played, choose any a number of your battle cards and unison cards and theirs, ignoring barrier, and negate the skills of those cards. So I'm thinking that if you have skillless battle cards of 4 or less, the concept is to negate your own skills and then restand them afterwards, because the activate main is that you place in a drop and then now you can go ahead and do that. Would I play 4 even if it has deflect for this card? Maybe. I mean, it's cool because now with the Android 13 unison, it is a 0-10 in your hand. So I think that's pretty cool. It's just that you can't really protect your unison without using the blockers. So you kind of have to think about what you really want to do when it comes down to this engine. And of course you can play other stuff, but because these are the main Android 17 and 18 cards, and as well as yellow Androids, I would highly recommend to play them. And now we have the last of it, where the Android 20, basically what it says, because it has kind of a good paragraph. If you literally is Android 17, and I guess you can do this in other Android 17. You look at top 7 after you pitch this card and another Android card, doesn't have to be yellow, and then you can add up to 2 mono yellow cards, and it costs a 5 or less among them, and then shuffle your deck. You can't use it for the rest of the turn. So you can basically pick any of these cards, except for the unison, obviously, in the extra card, and then any of the cards that we have here. So I think it's really, really good to include this if you are playing mono yellow androids. I think it's probably one of the best cards to fill your drop for the leader effect, because now you can drop this guy, the blocker. You can swing with the leader, You can play him out, and then as soon as he's played with the skill, then he's now active in a blocking in a blocker. You can play this guy, which he says if you switch to rest mode by one of your opponent's skills or your yellow skills against 11k being a 15k attacker. But the real thing is that the activate main is choose one of your yellow mono or your yellow android battle cards other than this card, switch it to rest mode, and then play a skill-less android card. The energy cost of 3 in your deck, and then shuffle. So pretty interesting that, you know, you can search these guys. If you see one of these guys, you just make sure to shuffle afterwards. You can use the Krillin super combo, the bottom deck one, and then make sure that you have one in deck. You can basically get this guy and then get these guys and then use these in order to use the activate main in order to play it out for the skillless instead if you draw them. And then of course the leader effect, just like I was saying, you can play out this guy, play him out for free with the leader effect, pay 1 afterwards for the activate main, and then now go ahead and get a skillless afterwards, which is pretty much what you want to do in this deck, in this list particular. It just creates a lot of pressure. I've almost killed people on turn 2 because of that, because you just awaken really quickly because of it. And you're restanding these 3-cost 30k vanillas. And if you include Champa with that on turn 3, then you're just gonna end up doing really well for yourself. Honestly, I love this whole chain. I love everything. Again, the biggest thing is just board wipes and as well as red that really kill that stuff. And now support. So we have a number of cards, some of the stuff that is kind of obvious to you, but the 2 other ones that are kind of supporting what we're talking about here. And one of the things that I know some people are going to skip through this and might not hear it, but one of the things I'm not really mentioning is the villainous cards or the heroic cards, one of those. And basically if it says one of their battle cards is a skill list, you get to KO or add up a cost or whatever removal. I think those are pretty cool. I just didn't add this for some reason or another. Either way, Ender 20, another 1 cost. Ender 19, another 1 cost. Both of them can be played with the leader effect. Both of them draw cards. And then auto is that when it's played or switched to rest mode by one of the skills. So it kind of has those double effects. You get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards of 5 or less. You get to choose one of your opponents with energy cost of 5 or less and negate the skills for the turn. So again, you can use the leader effect, or not the leader effect, but the unison effect, or the Ender 19 effect, where you draw a card and you choose one of your opponent's skillless battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So this has an energy restriction, this doesn't. Both of them draw you cards, so not a bad addition into the deck, honestly. Power of Sand, honestly, one of the craziest cards for yellow right now. In my opinion, I think it might be a little bit overhyped, but I think in practice it is really good. It's a negate for 1. Or if you have a mono yellow energy that is in active mode, you get to use activate battle, in which you can draw a card and then rest something in active mode or into rest mode. So you can choose one of their battle cards or your unison cards and then rest it, which is just really, really good. I can't really explain how good this card is. Then we also have Basil. It is nice because if you're playing this stuff and you're playing all this other stuff that rests and as well as you know, basically just taps down, Basil is nice to draw one and get another 2-cost attacker or 2-swing attacker for 19k. Then we have Swift Retaliation Cooler. I used to play in the main, but I don't think I really want to do that anymore. I mean, it don't really go that long, and if it does, then you really want to build board instead of paying 3 to retaliate, but whatever. Unison of Fury, I think Dark Broly is probably a pretty bad matchup for this. I played it a couple times and it really struggled overall. I think this Unison in particular is really good because it interacts with your mono yellow cards. It doesn't give you the same value as Android 13, making things for free as far as your combo cost for the 18 and 17, but it is nice. It is really, really nice. Just making sure that you get it around the greater than their current energy cards, and that's super important in that matchup. And of course you have blockers, so if they swing with leader, then that's not really going to be too big of a deal, because now you can just go ahead and block and then just continue to do it over and over again. And then of course you can use the leader effect, put it out, etc, etc. You know what I'm saying. Mecha Frieza Robotic Riposte, I don't know how to say that, but this is an engine and as well as card that is probably going to see a lot of play in yellow going into the next format, and as well as just the next couple months as people get more and more of them. It is pretty expensive for a reason. I think they're going to go down for a little bit as a side market talk as far as that goes. But basically you counter it if you have energy costs of 1, or you reduce it by 1 for every yellow extra card in energy in your drop. Basically, it's a 1 cost when you do have 2 for both. And then every time they attack, they have to switch one of their cards in active mode to rest mode with a non-using card. And of course, you can use the mono yellow Mecha Frieza engine, and I think that's really cool. I think this is just good as an additional attacker. It's a tax. It's just really good overall, and I think it really fits into this deck if you have enough extra cards. The Sin Shenron and Cell Xeno, I don't play in this list. I think they're both great for what you want to do. You have to fill the board up for Cell Xeno, or just play more Bergamos. Only play 2 on the list. But I think overall, both of these are really good. You can play this for relatively cheap. And of course, Cell Xeno is just Cell Xeno. If you get them down to 4 or really low, and you want to either end game or quick game, you can play Cell Xeno, because you're gonna have those 3 costs, 5 costs, 1 cost, etc. And of course, Bardock, Rita's Warcry. If you're going for the 4 or less and just want to edge out a little bit as far as the leader in the games, I think Bardock is great. It doesn't really work in this list because you're gonna be awakening pretty early, and I think untapping 2 with Bardock is going to be the play instead. Android 13 begins, and as well as Cell Devourer. I think Cell is great if you're playing green yellow with this list, especially since you have the vanillas at 3s, and of course the other free stuff for 3s. Really good. Android 13 begins is really good for removal. Like, it's sort of like you can just ignore their battle cards that don't have barrier and just swing at leader for 20k double strike, and you just pass the turn, they just pop 2 cards. I think it's just great. I think that probably solves the problem where this deck doesn't really have too much removal. You just kind of have to fit green into the deck, and I don't think that really fits too well, honestly. And of course, the swap engine, I think that there might be a list somewhere there that people can kind of experiment with this, and as well as the 5-drop swaps, just a thought. And then Lord Slug, I think that's really good tax if you do include that into the engine. That with the mono yellow androids, some of the stuff that takes away barrier, and a little bit of more aggression with the vanilla stuff, I think that's going to be really good too. There's a lot more cards within the list too, by the way, or within support, but I'm just not going to waste my time with all of them. There's going to be suggestions in the comments, and I'm excited to see them, if anything, so definitely let me know what I missed there. As far as the list goes, here's a list that I'm currently playing. I don't think it's like super final because I keep changing it every freaking day, but I think it has enough text and enough things to kind of combat the current format, and as well as bringing out the best out of the mono yellow androids. There's a couple things here that I didn't list before. Obviously, Secret Identity helps with the removal, and as well as Kai. Just by turn 3, you're going to be awakened and just doing mono yellow android stuff. And this is just really good just to make sure to mitigate any of the board wipes, or make sure that you can board wipe as well. The 4 of Vegeta is really important. They want to kill this as soon as they start realizing how good it is. So having an out turn 2, and then responding to their battle cards, which you can respond with your leader that doesn't if they don't have barrier, and then just remove it the next turn, is really important. Both of those things are great. We play the 2 split because Krillin is great for the vanillas, and as well as getting rid of the 10Ks or the 1 cost 10Ks, 5Ks in your hand if you don't have the unison out, which does happen. It does definitely happen, especially if they Kai you, if they play the Bergamo on you, that is basically the unison killer, the blue yellow one, etc. So pretty important to realize. And then also 2 ofs of pretty much all of this stuff except for Android 18. I think 2 is right. You can pretty much get everything here with the Dr. Gero / Android 820, and I think that is enough. Honestly, I think that is exactly enough. What you want to do, and keep it consistent. These guys are a 4 because these are your turn 1, turn 2 plays. These guys are pretty, I think these ratios are good. I can't really say too much. And then 2 Assault the Androids, it's kind of a dead card if it, like matchup related, and of course you're going to be tapping out in yellow, so is what it is. And then Power of the Saiyan at 3, I think you can play this at 4, but because you play 2 Fighting Nimbus, and as well as a bunch of other stuff that is 1 cost, I think it's important to kind of keep your energy open in when it matters. Otherwise, I don't really care. But this is really good as far as a negate and as well as a draw to filter out and as well as to tap down things that you need. Flying Nimbus at 2, Final Flash. I think this is a good card in this deck to correlate with the leader as well as the Unison, and as well as a couple other effects that we have, like the Android 19. And it is also another 15k one cost. So overall, really, really cool. Bergamo at 2, you probably could play at 3, honestly, but overall I think there's only a certain amount of things that actually do rest in this leader. Go figure. But I think Bergamo has come into play, especially around like turn 4 when you're trying to take for game as well. The one Champa you probably could play 2, but again, the one cost 10 cost, you just have to be super careful with those. The Mecha Frieza is at 2, just like I was talking about earlier. It's just really, really good. You play a limited amount of extra cards as well, so you kind of have to finesse it a little bit. Anyway, so your mulligan comes out to the stuff that I was talking about before. You basically want to play this turn 1 to get your Unison if you don't have it, or get another piece like the Android 20 here, and then get your other pieces that you need in your hand. So again, if you play the Unison turn 2, you awaken afterwards, you tap this guy down, you play this guy after you swing with leader. You can combo out if you'd like on their turn for this, or you can combo for whatever reason for that, or you can pitch it with the Android 20. And then you can activate main, rest this guy, untap it if you need to, and then get a vanilla, or swing with the vanilla and then untap this with this guy for the vanilla afterwards. And then turn 3, because it's going back to their turn, this guy reduces everything. You can combo out the 17 and 18 cards, and then afterwards rest something again like the all out if it didn't die, and then get the 15k power and untap it, or get another blocker here, and then play out the dynamic or demonic duo, especially if you get another Android 20 afterwards. And then Bergamo is pretty good too, because if you defensively use Zamasu, or offensively use Zamasu, I should say, and then Bergamo, that's not too bad. I think that's kind of where turn 4 comes in as well. But if you start doing this, you'll understand exactly what you need to do as you go on into the later turns. All right, that's it. I've talked so much and I apologize. All of this stuff takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time. Honestly, I really do enjoy it, even though it does take forever. But speaking of Kai, I don't want to forget, I want to go ahead and open another pack on the camera, since I always keep forgetting. I'm trying to pull the Kai secret. Why am I blanking out? Either way, subscribe if you are new. Join the Discord, follow us on Facebook. We're still going to be coming out with more decks, and as well as things for set 13. Shout out to Eggman. 2-drop vanilla. Oh, okay, I was about to say, is this a secret? 2-drop vanilla foil, and then an SR Dark Masked King. So not too bad, I guess. Either way, I will see you in the next one.